Hey guys, Aaron here. Welcome back to the next episode. Standing under the car with the engine and transmission fully mounted. This is day 2 of getting everything hooked up before starting it for the first time. We'll see how that goes. While down here yesterday hooking everything up, I noticed that I have a new style oil pump here on the side on bank 2. Bank 1, I believe, it still has that older style that I'm used to, so I had never seen this one before. I am told that for the 987s they use this, and I guess this hooks up somewhere. I have no idea where, can't find a parts diagram or any information about this thing at all. But got a hold of Jake Raby, thankfully, and he said that this is for vacuum for the braking system to help assist with that in the newer style cars. So I guess my 987 probably has this, so I guess I will discover that soon sometime when I get that up on a lift and see what it's doing. But he said, so I asked so I can just cap this off or something since it's vacuum. He said no, it needs to breathe, so he said to attach a hose and then an air filter, like he said, he compared it to the Chevy cam cover, I guess, has something like that. So I'm gonna go to the auto parts store and try to find something. First thing I wanna do though is take this cap off and just measure the diameter of this so I can see what kind of size hose I need. And my reading on that thing was 18 3/4 millimeters. Siri just did some math for me, and that is 3/4 of an inch. Googling Chevy valve cover air filter, I'm getting little things like this. So I'm gonna run over to the auto parts store, see if I can't find something like that that would fit on a 3/4 inch tube. But before I do that, I'm gonna continue down here with our cats. We gotta get our headers back on and the cats and start getting some exhaust put back together on this thing. All right, I removed the block off plate, as you may recall from earlier videos when trying to remove these from here. These things snapped off, of course, as expected, really old. Bought new bolts, bought new gaskets for this, so we're gonna put it all back on. Oh yeah, I forgot, they had been using some duct tape in their gaskets. All right, so these are our, oh, look, we have a special visitor, Shop Dog. Hey, Millie, you coming to visit? Millie, say hi. All right, bye, Millie. All right, so these are the new bolts that I got for them. Here are the gaskets, some part numbers. Oh man, if you guys have ever worked with exhausts before, putting brand new header bolts into a brand new block is amazing. Now I would recommend, if I were you, to replace this stock system with a Soul beautiful exhaust system like I have on my 987. I am now a Soul dealer, in case you guys didn't know that. So quick commercial, if you do need a new exhaust, get a Soul, because they are awesome, and you can help the channel. And I can get you a deal on one if you contact me. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll let you know what I can do for you. But yeah, I love my Soul exhaust, so big plug for one. If I were keeping this car, I would definitely be putting one on it, but since I'm selling it, you know, stock exhaust it is. 23 Newton meters for those bolts. Okay, so our first cats are installed now. Over here, I don't remember bank 1 being so freaking tight. So over here, I had to put this thing at an angle to get our O2 sensor over these pipes and get it all fit in. I used a 10 millimeter off the old cam cover to mount that back there. And so we can plug our cats back in now. And I think this one in the front plugs in right up there. All right, on this side, same deal. That connector goes right up here. We got that one plugged in. And the one in the rear, this goes right above it to here. This little bracket right here has a 10 millimeter and it gets attached right by your oil filter there. And its purpose is purely to have a little clip on the back here to hold the oxygen sensor. Keep this wire from flopping around. Just got back from the auto parts store. So we picked up one of these little filter-y guys and a 3/4 inch hose, and it's 6 feet long, way more than we need, but I'll cut that off. At first I was thinking, if we put this down here, won't it get all wet and mess up the filter and have water get in there? But yeah, of course, all I have to do is run it up to the top of the engine. So I'm gonna lower the car, feed this tube down from the top and attach it there. Just started shoving it down there. Now we'll go under and see where it came out. All right, it ended up lodging itself over here, which isn't too far from where we want it. I think I'll just, actually maybe that's right where we want it. Maybe let's have it curve around here and plug in. All right, it is attached with the hose clamp running up to the top. All right, well, we're back up at the top. I'm gonna need this clip, and I'm gonna reinstall this guy here. It presses in here. And that snaps in there to keep it locked on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this hose somewhere around here and attach the air filter. Unless I wanna run it. I mean, maybe I can just keep it long for now. Since it looks like we have a lot of room under here. Maybe I'll just keep this hose long, cut it over here, and just tuck it right in there for now. Since I'm here, I reach down. This thing came from the wiring harness, and I need to reconnect it here. Yeah, and let's not forget this little guy that was coming from down there needs to go into our B+ terminal. I'll tighten him down and close that little cover. All right, so if you look right between where those two pipes are running, before I had this bolt in here, you would be able to see the bolt hole for the top of the alternator. So I'm just dropping this bolt with a magnet down into place. All right, I have all 3 bolts of the AC compressor tightened now. This is our secondary air pump where the tube used to connect to, but since we are deleting that, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this whole unit and save some weight. This is just held on with 3 10 millimeter nuts in that bracket, and you can see this electrical connection right here was that guy down there. This one that we won't use anymore. This one does connect to our fan somehow. We need to reconnect that. Fan is reconnected there, and don't forget this negative terminal. We still have to ground to the body here. Got that nut. All right, one last important connection to make. I saw this part sticking out and didn't know where it went, and I finally investigated and found this part that was laying over our engine block. I think this is the coolant fill line. I'm not quite sure, but make sure to connect those two. Oh yeah, I was just looking around down here, and I do remember that the little ground for our AC compressor, that little wire coming off the back, needs to go into there. So let me fish for that thing and see where it ended up. All right, that gray wire coming through these 2 halves, not my favorite routing, but it's connected. All right, I'm gonna cut this guy off right around here. Now this is not exactly how this one was intended. It looks like it was a smaller hose you were supposed to put inside here, and the clamp it had went around this part, but this part is like 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to press it into here and use a bigger hose clamp. All right, that was a super tight press fit, and it's rubber on rubber. So since it's sucking in air, probably don't even really need a hose clamp, but I'm gonna put one on anyway. All right, I just tucked it down there and it is hanging nice and safe. So if you ever buy a Boxster and you got this weird contraption here, now you'll know why. Tossed all of the corn. Now we're gonna start back in here. I pulled that in so our grommet is good there. And the last thing I removed will be the first thing I put back on. There's a 10mm nut holding 3 ground wires here. So those 2 and this one came with those wires over there. All right, put these back in. If you just remember gray, black, gray, gray, black. There's only one way you can do it. You can't screw it up. Reconnect this guy to that guy. Mount this guy back on the wall, which makes me realize that I put our grounding screws in the wrong spot. That is for this thing. Grounding screws go up the top. So the 3 smaller nuts go there. This bigger one must be for you guys. All right, 3 more connectors down here. Blue, white, black. They're color coded for you. All right, looking around the garage. One more important thing still, our power steering reservoir. We should probably install that. Power steering back in. All right, it would be a shame to forget to install the belt as well as pulling out the pin for keeping us at top dead center. So let's do both of those. All right, so I'm filling this thing back up. I put oil in it already, and I was going to use the vacuum way of putting coolant back in it, and it wouldn't hold vacuum. So that tells me that there was a little leak somewhere. Held vacuum in it, got down here, listened under the car, and from right here, I could hear a little bit of a leak. So we need to pull the car back up and see if we can fix that. All right, so that's the easiest one to get to still. Bolt T40, and look, O-ring jacked up in there. Aha!
Broken right there.
All right, we're gonna try to steal the O-ring from that guy. Let's see if they're all the same.
Stretchy stretch. Do you have Vaseline?
All right, after filling this up with coolant, we did have a leak, kind of as we suspected, and it is, well, we let a bunch of coolant out to stop the leak. Oh, here we go. So it was right up here. This was the culprit. It's dripping right off of this corner up here, which is the bottom of our oil cooler or heat exchanger. So somebody reused the O-rings on the new one. I'm not gonna name any names, but that's not a wise idea. So now I'm gonna have to take that back off and get some real O-rings. All right, so luckily from the top, this doesn't really look bad to me. So we got the 4 5mm bolts to remove, but there's really nothing in the way. So I should be able to lift it up. Since the car's never been started, there won't be any oil in this, thank God. And the coolant, we drained it enough to where it's not leaking, so that tells me there's no more coolant in here, so I'm not gonna have to worry about them intermixing, I'm hoping. So I think I can just remove the bolts, lift it up, slide it over enough to replace the gaskets, the O-rings. But I don't have any O-rings, so we'll be ordering some O-rings. All right, we can reach those 4 bolts. We got these out. Conrad's laughing at me. What are you talking about? This is a perfectly flat O-ring.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes
It
makes a lot of sense as to why that was leaking. So I'm gonna replace those 4. Next day now, we have new O-rings, these guys and these guys, to replace these. I'm told the torque spec is 7.5 foot-pounds.
All right, let's count them.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm very nervous.
It's in park. Brake. Just crank one time. See if any parts fly off at me.